South Africa has weathered its share of tempests. From widespread power outages that plunged families into darkness to corruption scandals that shattered public faith, the nation has endured repeated blows. Demonstrations have rattled its cities, and political turmoil has tested its resilience. Yet, none of these past storms could compare to what unfolded today inside the National Assembly. Not the protests, not the fiery debates, not even the threats of no-confidence votes could prepare the nation for this. What occurred was raw, spontaneous, and utterly irreversible. The cameras captured every second. Millions bore witness in real time, and even now, many are still asking themselves, did that really happen? Because right in the heart of South Africa's democracy, the unthinkable became undeniable truth. President Cyril Ramaphosa, once celebrated as the reformer, the promised savior of a new era, did not lose power through a ballot or a court ruling. He was not ousted by political rivals or judges. Instead, his own security detail physically removed him from the chamber. Swept away like a man stripped of command over the very authority he once held, the scene was surreal, almost dystopian. No triumphant stride to the podium marked this moment. Instead, Ramaphosa was hurried out, shielded by his own guards, his eyes wide with disbelief and sorrow. In those fleeting seconds, his legacy seemed to dissolve before the nation's gaze. This was no ordinary day in Parliament. This was not politics as usual. It was a live chapter of history, unfolding before stunned citizens. And when the chaos subsided, the silence that followed carried more weight than the uproar itself. Beneath that silence, one chilling question echoed through the air: was this the end of a presidency, or the beginning of something far darker for South Africa? This downfall did not happen overnight. It was the product of years of anger, disappointment, and betrayal building up like water behind a cracking dam. For 4 years, South Africans lived in literal darkness. Night after night, power cuts turned homes into black silhouettes. Businesses collapsed. Children studied by candlelight while politicians offered empty apologies. The much-heralded new dawn began to look like an unending midnight. The economy limped along, a bird with its wings clipped. Millions of young, vibrant citizens faced rejection letters, joblessness, and fading dreams. Meanwhile, corruption, that relentless phantom haunting South Africa's power corridors, refused to die. Each scandal chipped away at the African National Congress's, ANC, once golden reputation. The same party that had led the liberation struggle now stood tainted. Then came the infamous Failure Farm scandal, stacks of US dollars hidden on Ramaphosa's game farm, allegedly covered up. To many, it wasn't just another controversy, it was treachery. The man who had vowed to cleanse the system now appeared entangled in its rot. His new dawn started to look less like a sunrise and more like smoke and mirrors. So when Ramaphosa walked into Parliament that fateful afternoon, it wasn't a debating chamber he entered, it was a battlefield disguised as democracy. The no-confidence motion was on the table. The air was thick, electric, and suffocating with anticipation. Everyone present, MPs, journalists, and ordinary citizens glued to their televisions, knew history was about to be written. Ramaphosa's voice, steady yet scripted, spoke of reform, progress, and stability. But his words rang hollow, shattering like fragile glass against stone. Instead of calming tensions, they ignited them further. Opposition benches erupted in fury. The economic freedom fighters surged forward like a red tide, the Democratic Alliance joined in with resounding cries: corrupt, unfit, failure. Debate dissolved into chaos. The speaker's gavel pounded helplessly, its sharp knocks drowned out by the storm of voices. The line was crossed. Members of Parliament clashed physically, bodies colliding in a melee that turned democracy's heart into a scene of anarchy. Security forces stormed in. In that instant, history twisted into something surreal. Cameras rolled as one officer grabbed the president by the arm, not guiding, but dragging him. He was pulled back from his podium, back from his power, back from the nation's view. Ramaphosa's face told the story words could not fury, not defiance, but sheer, crushing shock. It was the expression of a man realizing, in real time, that his authority had slipped beyond reach. As he neared the chamber doors, he paused for one breath, turned his head, eyes glistening, and uttered 4 simple words that sliced through the noise like a blade: "I did my best." Those words, human, vulnerable, heart-wrenching, hung in the air. Then he was gone. Parliament fell silent. But outside its walls, South Africa roared. Every citizen watching understood that this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Imagine your nation's leader, the face of democracy itself, being escorted out live on television, broadcast across the world in stunned silence. That's what South Africans witnessed. Within minutes, their national tragedy became a global spectacle. Hashtag spread across continents, hashtag Ramaphosa dragged out, hashtag I did my best. Twitter exploded. TikTok replayed the footage in endless loops. Facebook feeds overflowed with shock, fury, and disbelief, and for some, satisfaction. To his supporters, it was humiliation in its purest form, an assault on democracy, a national wound that may never heal. To his critics, it was justice at last, a message that no politician, no matter how revered, stands above the law. For the everyday South African, the night shift nurse, the teacher struggling with bus fares, the student studying under candlelight, it was incomprehensible. As they endured rolling blackouts, inflation, and unemployment, their leaders were tearing each other apart live on primetime television. To them, it wasn't political theater. It was tragedy. That night, the lights burned late in Pretoria and Cape Town's embassies. Around the world, foreign investors muttered one word in hushed tones: instability. Diplomatic cables flew. Phones rang in Washington, Brussels, and Beijing. Across the globe, one question echoed through government halls: who is in charge of South Africa now? Across the continent, both allies and adversaries watched closely. The message was unmistakable: even the mightiest leader can fall, even the strongest mask can shatter in an instant. Within the ANC itself, the event struck like a political earthquake. The party of Mandela, the movement that once symbolized liberation, had just witnessed its sitting president manhandled out of parliament like an intruder in his own house.